We're going in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another episode of NFHS Now. I'm your host, John Gillis. It is our great pleasure to have our guest today, Mr. Brad Garrett, who's an Assistant Executive Director of the Oregon School Activities Association. Among his responsibilities, Brad administers a sport of wrestling. Brad, I'd like to welcome you to the show.
Thanks, John. Always appreciate the opportunity to talk about the good things going on in the state of Oregon.
Brad, as you know, high school girls interested in wrestling had more to celebrate than just Lincoln's birthday on February 12th. That was the day the OSAA Executive Board voted unanimously to create a separate state championship division for girls, starting with the 18-19 school year. I read that girls in Oregon currently can compete against boys in district and OSAA state tournaments, or they can compete against other girls in a separate exhibition state tournament. So what exactly does this change for girls in Oregon? What can they do now in wrestling that they couldn't do before?
I think the simplest answer is, John, that they can now win an individual state title or a girls wrestling team state title. Prior to this change, those were exhibition matches, and now they are recognized as state championship bouts and state championship teams. So that's obviously a huge change for these young ladies.
I read that Oregon is the 8th state with officials girls state championships, joining Georgia, Hawaii, Texas, California, Washington, Tennessee, and Alaska. As this developed, did the OSAA consult with those states or perhaps personally visit their state tournaments to gain a sense of how it works for them?
Certainly, we were in communication with a number of those states about how they implemented girls wrestling within their state. We have opportunity when we get back to national meetings, other meetings the Federation holds, to have conversations about what's going on. And so we tried to learn from those states that preceded us in creating a division or sponsoring girls wrestling. Yes, we did.
In this new championship model, girls can choose between wrestling in the girls' exhibition state tournament or competing with the boys. What do you anticipate will happen with that? Do you have the sense that a lot of girls would choose to compete against boys?
I think we're going to see similar results to what we've had over the last 4 or 5 years. Certainly there's going to be some young ladies who choose to participate in the traditional tournament. Their skill level is at such a level that they feel like they need to get in the traditional side, which means they would wrestle boys in order to increase their skill level or meet their expectations. But we do anticipate a vast majority of the young ladies will migrate into the girls' division at the state championships.
How many girls participate in wrestling in Oregon, and has it grown in recent years?
Yeah, we have seen tremendous growth in the last couple of years. We certified 400 young ladies this year. And that is almost double the number we certified the year before. So just in the last few years, after being stagnant for a few years, we've seen our numbers essentially doubling each year, and we anticipate that trend to continue.
Do the girls have different weight classes than the boys? And how about the rules? Do they differ between the genders?
So the girls do have different weight classes in the state of Oregon. We have 10 weight classes instead of the adopted NFHS 14. We're basing that on our population. We're going to continue to look at those weight classes, modify them as necessary. As far as rule goes, there are no different rules between genders in wrestling. The wrestling rule book essentially covers both styles.
It would seem to me that the next logical step would be sanctioning girls wrestling. Do you foresee that happening?
Yeah, I do see a day when the OSAA will officially sanction girls wrestling. We want to take that incrementally. Obviously, we're going to need to have more schools that have more complete teams before the OSAA Executive Board considers that. Right now, while we have about 190 schools that are essentially have a girls wrestler, many of them only have one or two. So until we start to see more growth on the team side, which is going to occur naturally, I think as we migrate towards that, the end goal will be sanctioning for girls wrestling, and we look forward to that day.
Brad, this is great news for high school girls involved with wrestling in the state of Oregon and for athletic opportunities in general. I wish the OSAA great success with this venture, and I want to thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for the opportunity, John.